Welcome to a meeting of your Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. Representing District 1, Harry Cohen. Representing District 2, Ken Hagan. Representing District 3, Gwen Myers. Representing District 4, Michael Owen. Representing District 5, Donna Cameron Cepeda. Representing District 6, Pat Kemp. Representing District 7, Joshua Wostel. The County Administrator is Bonnie Wise. The County Attorney is Christine Beck. Time is set aside at the beginning of each meeting for citizens to speak on any issue. So we have time for everyone. Speakers are asked to limit their comments to 3 minutes. Today's meeting is brought to you with closed captioning by Hillsborough Television.
Good morning and welcome to the February 21st, 2024 regularly scheduled board meeting of the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. Would everyone please rise for the pledge and invocation given by our chaplain, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, and liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we thank you for your great love and your mercy. And this morning, we lift up Mike Fox, who's been serving faithfully with the Hillsborough County Fire Rescue. He tragically lost his 10-year-old son, Mason, from cancer. We pray for Joe Fox, Mason's uncle, who also works for Hillsborough County Fire Rescue. We pray for the entire Fox family during this time of sorrow, and we pray for your great peace that passes all understanding over their hearts and their minds. And we pray for protection over all of our firefighters and first responders and all of the men and women that are serving in our military. We ask you to bless this meeting in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. This morning we have a very special proclamation to be presented by Commissioner Owen.
All right, how's everybody doing today? All right, it's the most wonderful time of the year. A lot of people think that's Christmas, right? Not in Plant City. Strawberry season is the most wonderful time of the year. It's a tradition that's been involved in my life growing up in Valrico forever, as long as I can remember. And at this time, I want to call up some folks here. Aniston, if you could come up here with your court. Let's have Kyle Robinson, Danny Cotton, my favorite mayor. Come on up, Jason, too, Commissioner. Any elected officials that are here from Plant City, please. And then Mr. and Miss Berry, who hasn't aged a day in their life. You know, come on out here. Just stand behind us. You got big heads. So this is the strawberry season. This is a special time of year, as I stated earlier. It's not just about the $1.1 billion in revenue. It's not just about the 600,000 people that are going to come tour it. You know, I remember growing up as a kid where we had strawberry shortcake, strawberry pizza. Now you've got strawberry beef jerky, you got strawberry cookies. So many, you almost feel like in Forrest Gump, Bubba Gump, you know, strawberry this, strawberry that. But it's the innovation of our growers and the people behind me that have made the Strawberry Festival what it is today. And first, just talking about our growers. Our growers are the key to the state of Florida. A lot of people think tourism is what drives the state. It's important, but it's our agriculture communities. And it's events like this that really highlight our growers. Another thing to mention too as well is livestock. We have great livestock competitions from swine to our cattle, and it's a really good opportunity to showcase young people. Your FFA, your 4-H, which I was in as a kid. And then, of course, these wonderful ladies that are standing here behind me. And as Mayor Kilton always says, this builds leadership. As a matter of fact, Queen in the court, our Attorney General was once standing where you are right now. So you all are the future, but again, not just these wonderful ladies behind us and their future, the future of our agriculture community, what puts food on our table. And that's really something that I like to really highlight here this year at the Strawberry Festival. Is it's not just about concerts, which are great. It's not just about rides and time with your family. It's the opportunity to highlight the most important industry, I think, in the state of Florida, and that's our agriculture industry. So what I'd like to do real quick is I would like to read an official proclamation. Cassandra, do you have the proclamation? And Kyle, we'll have you hold it as the president. Plant City is the winter strawberry capital of the world, with about 13,000 acres, bringing together people of honor, farmers, and celebrate the bountiful strawberry harvest, a $1.1 billion industry in Hillsborough County alone. The Florida Strawberry Festival draws, entertains, and enlightens over 600,000 local residents and visitors from around the world each year, introducing them to Plant City agriculture, arts, businesses, horticulture, and industry. The Florida Strawberry Festival has long been recognized as the #1 fair or festival in Florida, as well as one of the top 35 events in North America, a true destination where people enjoy some of the world's top entertainment, educational exhibits, friendly competitions, and attractions. 2024 Florida Strawberry Festival Queen Aniston Griffin, First Maid Taylor Gregory, and court members Zion Keese, Sarah Grace Sparkman, and Abigail Spivey serve as the festival's goodwill ambassadors. The Florida Strawberry Festival Board of Directors, new board chairman Danny Cotton, President Kyle Robinson, and many local volunteers and civic organizations devote countless hours to the success of the event. The 2024 theme, Out of This World, demonstrates that the sky's the limit for the success of this year's celebration, as the board of directors, staff, and maintenance crew were hard at work this past summer and fall, planning and preparing for an out-of-this-world experience for hundreds of thousands of guests. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the Board of County Commissioners of Hillsborough County, Florida, does hereby declare February 29th through March 10th, 2024, as Florida Strawberry Festival Days in Hillsborough County, encourages everyone to celebrate the festival's rich heritage and the strawberry harvest that contributes so much to this community, region, and state, and hopes everyone has a grand time at Berry Fest 2024, awarded this 21st day of February 2024. And I'd also like to thank, as a matter of fact, you know what, I'm going to have the Queen come up here and first introduce her court, as well as the two ladies here that help out so much here with you. So, our Queen.
Thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Aniston Griffin, and I'm the 2024 Strawberry Festival Queen. Our first maid is Taylor Gregory. Court member Zion Keese. Court member Sarah Grace Sparkman. And court member Abigail Spivey. And the moms that help us throughout the year is Miss Lori Yarbrough and Miss Donna Keel. The girls and I are so honored to be here today to receive this proclamation, and we hope to see everybody at the 2024 Strawberry Festival, which starts February 29th and ends March 10th. And we look forward to representing Hillsborough County and being able just to serve our community to our best abilities over this next year. Thank you, guys.
Aren't these ladies fantastic? What great ambassadors for Plant City, not just Plant City, Hillsborough County. Next, I'd like to introduce one of my favorite mayors around town here, Mayor Kilton.
Well, Commissioner Owen and all the commissioners to the board, thank you for this recognition today. I'd like to say it's always a great day in Plant City, and it's even better when the festival time comes around. And I think you really said it all earlier. And what I want to focus on is, you know, it's a great event. It's a family-friendly event. It's a safe event. Great concerts. Great. You think about the festival food and the rides. But what really makes it special for our community is that it's a true community event. This event doesn't happen without the assistance of over 2,000 volunteers. And everybody coalesces around it because it's just a special time for us. And it's really, I think, emblematic of who we are as a community. It incorporates that community feel. It incorporates agriculture that's so significant to us in East Hillsborough County. And strawberry is king there, make no mistake. But there's a lot more that happens in East Hillsborough County that's agriculture related. And a lot of that is typified in what happens at the festival. It's an opportunity, most importantly, I think, for us to really focus on our young young people in Plant City. And you have a great example of that with the Queen and Court here today, building future leaders. And also for the young people that have an opportunity to show their steers and their pigs and, you know, the plants and everything else that they do, and the thousands, really millions of dollars that have been poured into these young people over the years is astronomical. And what it teaches them as far as leadership and perseverance and discipline, those are life skills that you can't get in a lot of other arenas. So that's what really makes us most proud in Plant City about this event, is how it impacts our young people and the community in general. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Deanie, you want to come up here and say a few words?
Thank you, Commissioner. My name is Danny Coton. I'm the chairman of the board of directors of the Strawberry Festival. I want to thank the commission for recognizing the city of Plant City, the Strawberry Festival, and of course our Queen and Court. They've been working so hard over the last couple weeks, and I've had the pleasure of being able to attend some of these things with them, and they're just a terrific group, and you'll probably see a lot of them out in the next couple weeks. If you make it to the fair, it's February 29th is when we start. It goes through March 10th, and we appreciate being here, and we appreciate the proclamation, the recognition. You know, the Strawberry Festival is a very special part of the Plant City community, and something as the mayor said that the community really rallies around, and it's been a special part of the community since 1930. So if you all can make it, come out, and we have a lot of neat things going on, and a lot of neat things that will be new this year. So we hope to see you in a couple weeks.
Thank you, Danny. And I'm going to make, even though Kyle wasn't slated to speak, he's in his second year filling some big shoes for Paul Davis. But Kyle, would you say a couple things?
Sure. Thank you, Commissioner Owen, and the entire commission for recognizing the Strawberry Festival. And it's been touched on that, yeah, we're a large festival, and we have great entertainment this year, and we have a huge midway. But all that is to celebrate the strawberry and to celebrate agriculture and to celebrate our youth in agriculture. I was talking to Kenneth Parker, the director of the Florida Strawberry Growers Association, just the other day, and they're predicting they picked 36 million flats of strawberries between November and April, and that's just an astonishing number. To put it in perspective, that's 12,000 tractor trailer loads of strawberries that will leave our East Hillsborough community in just several months. So it's a huge economic impact, $1.1 billion just in Hillsborough County, and the Strawberry Festival is a huge impact. We recently did an economic study, and it's about a $26 million impact to our local community. And while those are big numbers, it's very important to our community because we're a job creator, and we create 600 seasonal jobs. And while it's not $26 million, it's very important to those families that can come and get that seasonal work and put food on our table. So we're much more than a festival. We're a big part of this county, and we appreciate this county commission supporting those in agriculture in East Hillsborough County. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Commissioner Jones, you want to just say a couple words here to wrap things up for us?
Well, that's easy because everything's already been said. So strawberries are my favorite dessert. So we're going to have lots of strawberries at the Strawberry Festival. We hope to see everybody come out this year. As you heard, there's a lot of new stuff, and we're making a lot of great leaders at this Strawberry Festival. So again, make your way to the Strawberry Festival this year, and we hope to see you there.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Mr. and Ms. Berry, I don't think I'm going to have you come up and speak. But again, please go out there, check out the Strawberry Festival. It gets better and better every year. So thank you all for being here. Looking forward to a great strawberry season, and see you at the festival. We're going to take a picture back here. Come on back.
Ready, 1, 2, 3. And one more, 1, 2, 3. Thank you. All right.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you, Commissioner Owen, for presenting that very special proclamation. I don't remember seeing Mr. and Mrs. Berry here before, so I don't know. This may be a first, but they're certainly welcome. Bonnie, you want to review the changes to the agenda?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Commissioners. We have one item added to the agenda pursuant to Rule 13 of the Rules of Order. This is by Commissioner Hagan. This is item F1. It is to direct the County Administration and Development Services to conduct interviews and hold focus groups with a broad representation of the development sector to determine what issues, if any, may hamper timely permitting, plan review, inspections, and issuance of certificates of occupancy, to identify changes in policies or procedures to ensure efficient review of plans, issuance of permits, and responsive inspection timeframes in the county's development review and permitting process. Also to review the RFP and RFQ practices for ways to simplify and streamline those processes, and also recommend specific action steps in a plan to address these items and to present this to the board within 90 days. We do not have any items scheduled for time certain today other than the recess for lunch. Those are the changes to the agenda. I think that's the record, by the way.
We have a
Move
motion.
approval.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve the changes. Commissioner Kemp, second Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote.
Oh.
Motion carried 7-0.
Okay, we're going to the public comment portion of the agenda. The board welcomes comments from citizens about any issue or concern, or your opinion is valued in terms of providing valuable input to board members. However, it is requested at the same time when you address the board that comments are not directed personally at a commissioner or staff, but rather the issues. We've set aside 45 minutes for public comment this morning. The chair will call on speakers by name in the order in which you've signed up to speak. When you approach the microphone, please state your name and speak clearly. Up to 3 minutes will be given for each speaker. I can tell you that we have 25 individuals that have signed up this morning. If everyone is present, then we will not get to every person, so I want to let you know that up front. The first 3 speakers are David Coleman, followed by Humair Abzal, and then Franklin Perez, which is virtual. Mr. Coleman.
Good morning, Dave Coleman from North Tampa. It's too early to determine the effects of the agenda item bombs you drop, but you can be sure the general population doesn't like most of them. What is your end game? At services this Sunday, the question was posed, why do the nations conspire and the peoples plot in vain? When the message of radical love is taken seriously and lived out, it will lead to the toppling of our broken human institutions. At what cost are your attacks on affordable housing and nonprofits? The community investment tax and the county health card need to stay. The UACDC, to answer your question, has revitalized Suitcase City of 25 years ago. The question still remains on the topic of wasted money. Where is your slush fund flag money? I did find out that one of you refused to take it. So that leaves 6 of you to please report in. Where is budget transparency? Where is the transportation surtax, $569 million stolen by the state GOP? Where was your fight and resolve to bring it home? When Pasco has passed 3 transportation bills over the past 10 years. Your spite hurts everyone. Taxes are why we are in the situation we are in is your cry. What position? The wealthiest county in the country with $2.3 billion in fluid money that you want to invest in Israel? Will you buy bonds for Gaza when the smoke clears and the body count of women and children is done? What about the lack of decorum in your meetings, the screaming verbal attacks on a board member over a Confederate statue, the shouts of glee and applause when the president of the Young Republicans comes to mock nonprofits and the word equity? Why with so much money did you raise our garbage bill $85 and double our water bills? Why does it take a quorum with a submission to the BOC for approval for the transcript of an unrecorded, non-virtual public AHAB meeting transcript to be released to the public. I don't ask, I demand an ethics committee to be formed to review the sickening conduct of a board that believes the people in this room aren't worth listening to. When inflation is down and the economy is up and people still say they're hurting, it just might be a lack of local support systems. How vile it is to say homeless choose to be there. Why weren't shelters open last night, even though they were in by 6 and out by 6 with vouchers for children only while supplies last? On the news lately, Dover, Palm River, Lutz, Oldsmar are all coming here. Whether you think they're activists or the voice of the public, it really isn't up to you.
Thank you, Mr. Coleman. Next three speakers, Hamera Afzal, followed by virtual, we have Franklin Perez and Alama Alhausen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I urge you not to move forward with the item G3, changing the ordinance to allow Hillsborough County to invest in Israel bonds. How are you even considering this? Investing in Israel bonds is unconscionable and financially irresponsible. This body has expressed its unwavering support for Israel multiple times over the past months, even as Israel has murdered over 30,000 civilians, over 13,000 of them babies and children. The Gazans who haven't been killed are malnourished and at severe risk of dying from disease or famine. Starvation is being used as a weapon of war. This is not self-defense, it's a blatant effort to ethnically cleanse Palestinians from Gaza. The international community has called for Israel to stop. A majority of Americans also want a permanent ceasefire. But we have not heard a word from this body that indicates you are in any way troubled by what is happening in Gaza. You're instead talking about investing money in Israel bonds. You need a new moral compass because the one you're using is broken. When this item was brought up on December 6th, the sponsoring commissioner talked about diversifying the portfolio and said, quote, "At this critical moment in our history, it's time for us, we should focus on this type of investment in bonds." The critical moment in history is that a genocide is happening right in front of us, and we should all be working to end it. That includes stopping the billions of dollars that flow to Israel and certainly not sending more money. Americans of all backgrounds are against investing in Israel. When the state of Indiana purchased Israel bonds in November, Jewish Voice for Peace held a demonstration and called the purpose, quote, "unconscionable," and that any money that we give to Israel is currently supporting genocide of Palestinians. It's supporting violence and weapons that are being used against Palestinian children, against Palestinian families in Gaza. Even if you think it's okay to invest in countries committing genocide, investing in Israel bonds would not be a financially responsible choice. Warnings about increasing risk and decreasing stability of the Israel bond market date back to at least March 2023. In late October 2023, S&P Global Ratings downgraded Israel's credit outlook from stable to negative. On February 9th, just a couple of weeks ago, Moody's downgraded Israel's credit rating, citing material, political, and fiscal risk for the country from its war on Palestinians. You have a fiduciary responsibility to not make risky investments with taxpayer money. Genocide is a bad investment. The only scenario in which investing in Israel bonds makes sense is that if it is guided by political motivations. Don't play politics with our money. Don't invest in a country that is committing war crimes every day before our eyes. Spend it. We got plenty of problems here.
Thank you, ma'am. Next three speakers are virtual. We have a Franklin Perez, an Alama Allison, and then a Carla Correa. Mr. Perez, are you on the line?
Hi, this is Franklin Perez. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, sir.
Great. My name is Franklin Perez. I live in Seminole and Hillsborough counties. Please rescind all pro-Israel resolutions you have made in the past and vote no on buying Israeli government bonds. Enough. Israel is a Jewish supremacist apartheid state that has been committing ethnic cleansing and human rights abuses against Palestinians for 75+ years, as per reputable human rights organizations like Amnesty International, Human Rights Watch, and Bet Shalem. And now you can add genocide, as Israel is on trial at The Hague for genocide against Palestinians. Stop supporting Israel. Stop giving it weapons. Stop giving it money. And condemn it for what it is, an apartheid and genocidal state. Many human rights experts refer to Gaza as an open-air concentration camp. The Israeli apartheid regime's prime minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, has invoked genocidal language against Palestinians in the Gaza concentration camp by referring to an ancient biblical passage in the Old Testament comparing Palestinians to Amalekites that must all be put to death. Men, women, children, babies. The Israeli apartheid regime's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, has dehumanized Palestinians by referring to Palestinians in the Gaza concentration camp as human animals. Miko Peled, Israeli Jew, son of a famous Israeli Jew general, ex-Zionist occupation forces enforcer, and Palestinian rights activist, has stated that the Israeli army is the best terrorist group in the world. Ex-Israeli Jew Zionist occupation forces pilot Yonatan Shapira has stated that the Israeli army is a terrorist organization run by war criminals. At this point, due to scattered Zionist-only occupier settlements in the West Bank, the only fair solution to the Israel-Palestine conflict is a one-state solution where everyone, Jew and Palestinian, has equal rights. That's what is referred to as a free Palestine from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. All U.S. government entities should be pressuring the Israeli apartheid regime to move towards such a free Palestine. That includes the dismantling of the Gaza concentration camp. The refrain that Israel has the right to self-defense is a red herring. The real question is, does Israel have the right to use force to maintain an illegal occupation and apartheid state that commits ethnic cleansing, genocide, and human rights abuses against Palestinians? The clear answer is no. Under international law, Israel has no right of self-defense when it is the oppressor and occupier, while Palestinians do have the right to physically resist and defend themselves against their oppressor and occupier, the Israeli apartheid regime. Our tax dollars should be going back to our own communities, not to support unrelenting bombing and genocide in Gaza. No more money for Israel's crimes. I request that the Hillsborough County Commission vote no on buying Israeli government bonds and introduce a resolution to stand with Palestinians in demanding an end to the siege of Gaza, a permanent ceasefire, and an end to all U.S. aid to Israel. Military, economic, political. Ceasefire now, ceasefire now, ceasefire now. Thank you.
All right. Next speaker, Lama Alhazen, which is virtual, followed by our Carla Correa.
My name is Lama Al-Hassan. I live in South Tampa, 33616. I wish I could be there in person, but it's very hard for working class folks to show up at these times. So instead, I'm calling in today to say Israel doesn't need more of our money. There's no need to amend the Hillsborough County's investment policy ordinance. The people of Hillsborough do not want our money and our taxes funding Israel's crimes that not only have lasted for the last 75 years and have escalated even more in the last 137 days with the genocide in Gaza. As a Palestinian, I have mourned every single life taken by Israel, and it hurts even more knowing that my taxes are used to pay for the bombs and the bullets that are murdering my people. I can't have any more of my taxes going to do that. Our taxes should be funding public education, healthcare, going into our communities, not to support the unrelenting bombing in Gaza by Israel. This board has already given hundreds of thousands of our dollars to support the genocidal entity of Israel. When the people here are suffering, we're not able to pay for rent. We can't afford to pay for our groceries, electricity, insurance. We are struggling. We need the money to stay here and take care of us. Vote no on agenda item G03. And if you're not sure what would be more helpful to the residents, how about investing in programs like the CALL program, something similar to what they have in St. Pete that's meant to reduce police involvement in non-criminal and non-violent calls for service. If we had something like that, maybe John Walter Lay, a gay man who was harassed for more than a year, would be alive today. If John had a resource like CALL, the hate and bigotry he was experiencing could have been addressed before he was murdered. The county needs to take hate violence against the LGBTQ plus community seriously and protect all marginalized people in this county. We do that by taking care of us, not by funding genocide. No more money to Israel. Invest in the people of Hillsborough.
All right, next three speakers, Carla Correa is virtual, followed by Russ Miller, and then Andrea Graham in person. Ms. Correa, are you on the line?
Carla did not sign in, sir.
Okay, so we got Russ Miller in person. Mr. Miller, are you here? And then followed by Andrea Graham and a Harrison Lundy. Morning.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak. I live in Lutz. We sometimes get stuck in old ways of thinking. In 1973, we saw Israel as an underdog nation in danger of being overrun by its Soviet-backed enemies. It was led by a thoughtful, compassionate people, like a general named Yitzhak Rabin, a general who later became prime minister and tried to make peace with the non-Jewish people who were his neighbors. All of that changed when Rabin was assassinated almost 30 years ago by a terrorist. Not by a Palestinian, though, but by a Jewish terrorist who believed that allowing non-Jewish people to have their own country on land that God had given to Jews would bring down a curse on Israel. That terrorist went to prison, but more rose to take his place, and recently became part of Benjamin Netanyahu's new government, a government that stopped seeing non-Jewish neighbors as human beings, but as pests to be eradicated. Some people will mistakenly tell you that Netanyahu is justified in killing tens of thousands of Palestinians, Muslims and Christians alike, destroying the homes of millions of them, and depriving hundreds of thousands of children of warmth in winter, clean water to wash in or drink, or food to eat. 1 in 6 children in Gaza live with acute hunger now. They are starving. They will say that it is justified because of a surprise attack on October 7th that started a battle which killed almost 400 Israeli soldiers and 800 civilians, but also thousands of Hamas insurgents who began that attack. But the results of that battle did not make Palestinians any less human than you or me. For those of us who are not Jewish, had we been born in Jerusalem or Bethlehem instead of America, we would be called Palestinians. We never seem to remember that. Instead, we are reminded by another kind of religious zealot that in order for Armageddon to play out the way it's supposed to, the book of Revelations, first the Jews have to reclaim Israel. Then they're supposed to fight the last battle on earth against all comers in order for Jesus to come back and rule for 1,000 years. This is America, and we have gotten used to such people. But as Lyndon Johnson once said of Barry Goldwater, in our guts, we know they're nuts. So for those of us who are thoughtful and compassionate, whether Netanyahu and his Jewish supremacy coalition and Trump and his deluded superstitious cult do to dehumanize, dispossess, and liquidate non-Jewish people, that is not okay. This is why we have to stop helping Netanyahu's Jewish supremacist government. It is no longer a government of thoughtful, compassionate people.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. We've got Andrea Graham, followed by Harrison Lundy, and then a Chelsea Lee, which is virtual. Good morning.
Good morning, board members. Thank you so much for your time. My name is Dr. Andrea Graham Morris, 33619, and I'm here today to urge you to use your ability to invite justice through the county ordinances that you put in place to make things right. I'm going to speak to you regarding RFP 2324453. It's the Services for One Water South Wastewater Conveyance and Treatment Project. This project was previously awarded to SUNT team and was taken away. And so it was awarded to the Garney team. However, the SUNT team had provided $80 million in cost savings for the county on the project off the bat. The Garney references were never checked, and in public, your staff commented, "We don't need to check them, we trust them." The last project that Garney completed for your county, our county, Hillsborough County, ended up in a lawsuit for deficiencies in their work. The staff did not keep their own requirements, the requirements that you feed down to them in the matter of law, and they did not even keep them to the outreaches or any of the stipulations that were to happen prior to the presentations. Garney did not show how they were going to impact and show participation of local businesses, veteran businesses, and minority businesses, and how that was going to be achieved. They don't have a legitimate Hillsborough County address. They did not provide all of their state licenses and certifications. So it's clear here that there is some affiliations with your staff and current staff that push this through in favoritisms. The SUNT team had specific plan to get the small business community involved with over $100 million. That is not happening at this time. The staff never looked at the capacity and workload, which is a requirement that the county put in place. And whereas SUNT was going to be able to start the project right away, and your staff is pushing for it to be started right away, the current recipients cannot start until 6 months later. I just want to ask you to just take a moment to right what is wrong. You have the ability to do that. You have the ability to look at these flagrant violations. I have a full package that shows all of the proof public according to our state law that I can leave and provide it to you. But please review and rectify. It's clear favoritism that is happening here, and it is up to you to incite justice.
Thank you, Ms. Graham. The next three speakers are Harrison Lundy, and followed by Chelsea Lee and Megan Ty, which are both virtual. Good morning.
All right, thank you. Good morning, commissioners. My name is Harrison Lundy. I'm here as a local organizer in Tampa Bay, but most importantly, I am a concerned citizen of Hillsborough County's 4th District. I wanted to bring attention really quickly to the murder of John Walter Lay, a gay man who was shot and murdered in a hate crime just a few weeks back in a dog park in the Westlake Dog Park of Tampa. It's actually unnerving, right, as a gay person myself, to be here even talking about this, because from what we have heard, Gerald Radford, the perpetrator of this crime, has not been criminally charged. He has claimed self-defense, very clearly using outdated stand your ground and gay panic legal defenses to avoid being held accountable. So as far as we know, he is still freely roaming the county. A man with a documented history of interacting with hateful and violent content against LGBTQ plus people is roaming the county. So I'm standing with several organizations and over 100 people at this point, and probably more, who have signed on to our letter pressuring the sheriff's office and the state attorney's office, and to also bring the pressure here to demand accountability for this case. The commission must do more to address this very active crisis. We're faced with the sheriff's office, who also has a well-documented history of brutalizing LGBTQ people and mishandling their cases. And they have given us next to no answers about this case, and it does feel a lot like they're dragging their feet about it. So I'm urging the county commission, please, to break this cycle and to work with us in keeping our community safe. We heard from a speaker earlier about doing research into nonviolence and harassment intervention programs like the call center in St. Pete, and to work with us directly. That's like my biggest demand. Right? We aren't asking for much. We are just asking to have our communities be kept safe and for marginalized people like myself to feel safe in our counties. With the remainder of my time, I want to briefly express my dissent for agenda item G03. Our commissioners are expected to serve us on local issues and to use our local funds for these local issues, like what we have heard from speakers today, not to conduct deals with overseas governments, especially those who are actively engaging in a genocide and ethnic cleansing. Y'all have heard it over and over. I feel like it's time we make good on the promises that we've made for our constituents. So I appreciate the time that you have given me, and I hope to be able to actually work with you on these issues. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lundy. Chelsea Lee, virtual, followed by Megan Ty, which is virtual. So Ms. Lee on the phone.
Chelsea did not sign up, but we do have Megan on the line.
Okay, we have Megan, and then we have Derek Fullwood and Yvette Lewis in person afterward. Ms. Ty?
Hi, good morning. My name is Megan. I'm calling to speak about item G03 today to express how violently irresponsible it is that we're even considering investing in Israel bonds. To suggest this, as over 30,000 Palestinians have been murdered by the same state in the last 4.5 months, which is already funded by our tax dollars, is insensitive at best to the hundreds of Palestinians under your constituency. In Tampa alone, where this meeting is taking place, there are 474 Palestinians. Just this morning, Israel bombed a residential area in Damascus, the capital of Syria. On Monday, they bombed multiple cities in Lebanon. You also have Syrian and Lebanese constituents as well, whom you have a responsibility to. The investment in Israeli bonds would be an open reflection of this county's careless disregard for life and be a blatantly racist statement to the people who you are elected to serve. I would also like to mention that I work daily with the vulnerable population of Hillsborough, and so I find this proposal not only embarrassing but shameful, considering how many needs go unmet on a daily basis. The most recent census data for Hillsborough shows that 18.5% of residents reported living with severe housing problems. 14% live under the poverty line, which is higher than the national average, and 14.3% of children live in poverty. Additionally, 12.1% are uninsured. So there's still more than 1,500 houseless individuals in this county in need for services. Many of our grade school children are not reading at grade level, and these gaps are often filled by local communities and mutual aid organizations, but it is ultimately the job of those elected to serve us to eliminate these concerns, to not banish them with one-time funds that while you pursue investments in a state that repeatedly has stated its genocidal intent for decades. So if you're looking for places to invest, it's in these programs that will improve these statistics so that these issues no longer plague our community. Recently, a man by the name of John Walter Lay was murdered in a hate crime. Where is the county's concern for his life and the issue of gun violence in our community? This county fails its people by failing to address these issues and diverting its resources to a foreign entity. The welfare of this county should be where your priorities lie, rather than looking for investments in the bonds of the state, facing not one, but two cases in the International Court of Justice, one pertaining to the crime of genocide in the Gaza Strip, while the other one pertains to Israel's illegal occupation in Palestine. Investment in that state's bond is wildly inappropriate, especially as many residents of this county have families that are being affected by the violence inflicted by Israel. This board has a judicial duty to lead and serve the people of its community. So we're calling on you to uphold these
Thank you,
duties
ma'am.
and vote.
Appreciate your comments. Next three speakers in person, Derek Fullwood, followed by Yvette Lewis, and then Sharon Honorette, I think. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, commissioners. I also come this morning to
Please state your name.
Good morning, commissioners. My name is Derek Fullwood, a Hillsborough County businessman, and I have come also to bring some awareness to the commissioners and the taxpayers about the One Water Plant project. Just three quick points I want to make and reiterate that the process was not done fair and equitable. Also, it is noted, and we quoted, that the staff said they did not need to check the references of the Garney team. And we know that in the last project that the Garney team performed for Hillsborough County, it resulted in lawsuits. And they did not bother, a $700 million project, and did not bother to check background references. Secondly, the Hillsborough County has a MBE participation that should have been met in phase one of the project, and we are aware that the Garney team did not provide that specific goal in their phase one of selection process. And the other team, the SIT team, actually have a proven track record of exceeding the participation for MBE and small businesses on all of their projects that they have completed. And lastly, I think is the most important item here today, is that the Garney team has been selected, or is being selected, with $671 million on this project, and the SIT team actually came in $80 million less. So I can't understand why anyone that's fiscally responsible would not consider the team that is saving the county and taxpayers $80 million. As we know, South County of Hillsborough County is such great need of infrastructure and fire houses being built and sheriff stations being built. $80 million could go a long ways in other projects. So we can't understand why anyone would select the team that is $80 million higher, have not met the participation goals, and is going to start the project 6 months late. And on top of that, the last project resulted in lawsuits. So we want to bring this awareness to you all, ask that you all would pause and consider taking a deeper look at this project and make the right selection for the taxpayers and yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Fullwood. Next is Yvette Lewis, followed by Sharon Honoret, and then Tim Pearson. Is Yvette here? No? Okay. Sharon Honoret, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, followed by a Tim Pearson, and then a Devon Cheeves, which is virtual. Good morning.
Good evening, esteemed members of the Hillsborough County School Board. My name is Sharon Honoret, and I'm here to address the matter of the services for the On-Water South Wastewater Conveyance and Treatment Project, RFP 2324453. 2 years ago, this project emerged with a promise of transformation with a budget of $500 million. Initially, there was unity and commitment from the local county to ensure its success. The project criteria stated there was to be procurement and outreach efforts. The SUNT team followed this criteria. The SUNT team, after rigorous evaluation and ranking, emerged as a deserving recipient of this project. It was not just a business deal, it was a pledge from SUNT of a $100 million investment back into our community. However, it is with profound disappointment that I stand here today to express how that promise, that investment in our community has been snatched away. Despite SUNT's readiness and commitment, the project has been redirected elsewhere. This investment was not just about dollars, it was about the invaluable impact it would have had in our community. It is disheartening to see such a valuable opportunity slip through our fingers, leaving us questioning the fairness and integrity of the process. As members of this community, we deserve transparency and accountability in the decisions that shape our collective future. In closing, I urge each of you to consider the gravity of the situation and reflect on the facts presented. If our county is genuinely committed into fostering a sustainable ecosystem and uplifting marginalized businesses within our community, then we must ensure that decisions reflect those values. It is disheartening to witness funds earmarked for our community growth and prosperity being diverted elsewhere, especially when we are steadfast in our commitment to reinvesting in marginalized businesses and enhancing our local economy. Let us not turn a blind eye to the implications of such actions. Instead, let us come together and demand transparency and hold accountable those entrusted with making decisions that impact us all. Our community deserves nothing less than fairness, integrity, and a future where opportunities for growth and progress are not squandered, but seized with purpose and responsibility. Thank you for your attention and consideration on this urgent matter.
Thank you, ma'am. We've got Tim Pearson, followed by a Devon Cheeves and a Brian Cuevas, both virtual. Morning, sir.
Good morning. Tim Pearson, president of your Hillsborough County Firefighters. Commissioner Cepeda, thank you for lifting up the Fox family in the invocation. My hearts are broken for them. I was very encouraged last week with the CIT conversation, recognizing the need for dedicated funding sources and a long-term plan to fund fire rescue, to improve our response times, improve our care for the citizens. At Fire Rescue, we're proud to have a 98% approval rating from the people that we serve. For us, we're going to show up. We're going to do the best we can with what we have. The thing that we're always fighting against is time. When it comes to a fire, cardiac arrest, difficulty breathing, suffocation, stroke, time is the enemy, and the only way we can do that is by having apparatus nearby, personnel nearby. And for that, we keep talking about needing to build stations. We've recognized that building a station is taking 3 years to get it out of the ground, and even buying apparatus is taking 18 months to 2 years. And so for us, we need to find short-term solutions. What can we do right now? And so on item G2, we're looking forward to hearing short-term, immediate relief that we can respond to faster to all these emergencies. And so with that, I'll give back my time, but this is extremely important. There are solutions that we can do right now. waiting for 24 stations to be built, 25 stations to be built isn't going to happen. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate the comments. Next two are virtual. Devin Cheeves and Brian Cuevas. Is Devin on the line?
Yes. Good morning. Good morning to the Hillsborough County Commission and also all Hillsborough County residents. My name is Devin Cheeves, and I am a resident here in Hillsborough County, 33610. And I'm speaking before the Commission today on agenda item G03, which is about investing in Israel. And I stand with many of the other individuals who spoke earlier, as well as many other groups across this state, and especially here in Hillsborough County and even the country around, not only calling for a ceasefire in Palestine, but for divesting our tax dollars from war, genocide, and harm against people. I just want to uplift again what everyone else has already said and named, right? We have a lot of issues here in Hillsborough County that we could be pouring our tax dollars into that actually benefit us here who live in Hillsborough County, right? From education to transportation to health care, right? Even our water, that's also been mentioned a lot here, right? Like there's a lot of issues here in Hillsborough County that we could be focusing on, and I do not understand as a resident and as a constituent how my tax dollars going to Israel to continue the harms that they are doing against the Palestinian people. I do not understand how that benefits me. I do not understand how that benefits anyone in my community. If anything, it destabilizes us, right? And so I just implore for the county commission to vote no on that item and to actually focus on the issues that are of benefit to us here in Hillsborough. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Cheeves. Next person is Brian Cuevas, followed by Alvin Sheriff and a Brian Taub in person. Is Brian on the phone?
Excuse me, sir. We do have a Cameron Pressey who signed up on time that is also virtual, but not on the list. I just wanted to make you aware.
All right. Is Brian on the line?
Yes. Brian, go ahead.
Yep. Yes, I'm here.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. I'm here concerning item G3. I say never again. Never again will Hillsborough County constituents elect commissioners of genocide to divest resources from our local communities that very well need it to purchase the bonds of a terrorist state is absolutely a betrayal to the very people you are sworn to represent and should constitute as a grift. To date, the apartheid state of Israel and terrorist regime has wantonly murdered nearly 30,000 civilians and counting, many of whom are overwhelmingly innocent women and children. Thus, to take the money from out of the very hands of our own women and children and handing it over to fund the deaths of thousands of others makes me question if our elected Board of County Commissioners are truly representing the best interests of the people of Hillsborough County. Humanity is on the agenda today. You want to make proper investments? Invest in humanity. Invest back into the people of Hillsborough County. Invest into our schools, our healthcare systems, into affordable housing, our infrastructures, and programs for disadvantaged youth, for the homeless, and absolutely anything else that can benefit the people of this county. Do not invest in the ethnic cleansing and genocide of innocent Palestinian people by moving our county's resources out of Hillsborough and into the bloody hands of the Israeli war machine. We, the people of Hillsborough County, say no. This does not represent our best interests, and we are paying attention. We will take into consideration in future elections all of whom are for or against this action of fiduciary treason. Vote no on agenda item G3. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Alan Sharif, followed by Brian Taub. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, commissioners. First and foremost, thank you for your outstanding service. My name is Al Sharif. I'm actually the boss list of Pi Iota Chapter, Omega Psi Phi fraternity. We'll be having our grand conclave here in Tampa, June through July this year, and want to thank you first and foremost for the support, especially County Commissioner Myers. We appreciate it. Just to speak a little bit, I just showed up today as a county resident as well. I live in South County, pretty much 33569 area. Just listening to the discussions going on with the Wastewater Conveyance Treatment Project. First and foremost, I want to say thank you for actually putting attention in that space. It's not a critical nature, it's just I thank you for that perspective. Second part, just heard the firefighters, and I want to say thank them for your service as well to our community. I believe I heard 23 to 24 fire stations short. I thought that was the message provided today. And I'm also hearing from different folks with regards to a budget shortage, about 80 million. I'm not sure how much it costs for each fire station, but I'm sure that's at least a couple from a shortage perspective for you guys to think through, if that's an opportunity. I just want to, again, acknowledge that, look at a $100 million investment potentially back into the community. We all live here. Again, it's not a bad situation, but I think we have to kind of look at that. Thank you again to the firefighters for what you guys are doing, and thank you to each commissioner for your support as well. Have a good one.
Thank you, sir. Next speaker, Brian Taub. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen of the commission. Thank you for hearing me this morning. My name is Brian Taub. I'm a resident of Tampa, Florida, 33602, and I'm here to talk about your consideration of the purchase of Israel bonds as part of your investment portfolio. I'd like to give you some background on Israel bonds. 115 state and municipal public employee pension funds have invested more than $5.8 billion in Israel bonds. Israel is one of the leading economies in the world, despite being threatened by its national security on almost a yearly basis. In addition, Israel has never, ever missed a principal or interest payment on its notes and bonds in its nearly 75-plus years of existence. Since October 7th, more than 15 states and municipal governments and institutions have invested over $1.7 billion in Israel bonds. Investments have come from Florida, the states of Florida, Ohio, Alabama, New York, Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Nevada, Louisiana, Pennsylvania, Indiana, and South Carolina, as well as from Broward County, Palm Beach County, Miami-Dade County, and Franklin County in Ohio. Your consideration is to determine if it is a virtue and valuable investment, and if it has credibility, and it does. It is a sound and safe investment. It's used for growth, infrastructure, and technology, not for defense. I would like to address some of the comments made earlier about Israel being an apartheid state. All the people in Israel live there and having full and equal rights. Arabs serve on the police force, in the military, in the Knesset, which is like our Congress, and on the Supreme Court. They are judges in the judicial system, and Arabs have an equal right to vote in all the elections. Palestinians and Arabs attend Israeli universities. Not only do they attend the universities, but they are professors in the universities. Arabs and Jews serve in the military, which is the Israel Defense Forces. What better way to protect your citizens by having a combined effort of Jewish Israelis and Israeli Arabs? Arabs and Jews also get equal treatment in Israeli hospitals.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Next, some off agenda. We have a few minutes left. Angel D'Angelo, virtual. Is Angel there?
Hello, good morning. Can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you so much. My name's Angel D'Angelo, and I live here in Ybor City, born and raised in Tampa. And I just want to comment on a couple of things. For one, as a gay man, an openly gay man, I'm very disturbed that on February 2nd, John Walter Lay was murdered in cold blood at a dog park, and there has been no action from our sheriff's office. I know they told me the FBI is involved, but the fact that they made a decision that no charges could be made alleging self-defense when the man who killed him had a documented history of harassment, homophobic harassment, including throwing out a couple F-bombs, threatening to kill him. There were witnesses to this. There's evidence of this. And HDSO didn't take action, and they're one of the highest funded, if not the highest funded department in our county. That's disturbing. What are our tax dollars going to, if not to protect the most vulnerable? So I'm asking you to use your political influence as county commissioners to demand that the state attorney's office take this seriously. We cannot have a cold-blooded killer out here who hates us roaming the streets and then claim that Tampa is an inclusive city or Hillsborough an inclusive county. I strongly recommend, and actually demand that this county start putting our money into things like the CALL program in St. Pete. We need an actual response to harassment. John Walter Lay spent like a year being harassed. So we need people that can respond competently to that and de-escalate like the CALL program. So it's time that we start investing in the community and not investing in things like bonds in Israel. So I also support the other comments that say no on G03. We do not need to put more money into violence. We need to interrupt cycles of violence. It's sad the fire department has to come here and beg for life-saving equipment, but Israel just slips right onto the agenda, no problem. We have no problem funding more jails, but we don't want to do anything to stop crime in the first place, like de-escalate or intervene in violence. It's really time that we take this seriously. As a lifelong Hillsborough County resident, I really expect more out of my county commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. D'Angelo. It's my understanding our staff has your contact information and will be in touch with you regarding the incident at the dog park. Okay, the last speaker this morning will be Brooke Ward, virtual.
Hello?
Yes. Good morning.
Okay, just making sure you can hear me. Hi, everybody. My name is Brooke Ward. I am the Senior Florida Organizer with Food and Water Watch, also with the Hillsborough Rate Hikes Coalition and Tampa Bay Climate Alliance. And coming here today virtually to ask for your support in lobbying against a pair of bills that's moving through the Florida legislature. We're invoking local governments like y'all all around the state to help push back. There's a pair of bills, House Bill 1645 and Senate Bill 1624, which are collectively known as the Energy Omnibus Bill, that are currently moving through the Florida legislature. And amongst many bad things that they do, these bills will further extend preemptions on local governments, even impacting HOAs and communities as well. It will lock in more fossil fuel infrastructure projects and ultimately have the impact of making energy bills more expensive. You know, we've been coming to you for the last year asking for help in skyrocketing electricity bills. This is another chance to help out. So the Energy Omnibus Bill is overreaching. It will have the effect of raising utility bills. They extend preemptions for local governments, so will take away your ability to decide what is best for Hillsborough County. They would allow utilities to charge Floridians more for dirty energy and would further limit the ability to stop dirty energy projects in our neighborhoods. They're a deceptive pair of bills that would raise rates for Florida families and ultimately prevent residents from stopping dangerous dirty energy projects. We need to invest in clean, affordable energy now, and these bills move Florida in the opposite direction. They'll force dirty energy projects on our communities while charging us more for our monthly electricity to pay for these projects. This is another opportunity to protect Hillsborough County residents from skyrocketing electricity bills. So that's why we're asking you to lobby our state legislators and Governor DeSantis to oppose the Energy Omnibus Bill and stop it from becoming law. The voice of local governments is necessary in the fight for clean, affordable energy and to stop rising electricity bills. So please let them know Senate Bill 1624 and House Bill 1645, the energy omnibus bills, need to be voted down. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Ms. Ward. That closes the public comment portion of the agenda. Can we have a motion to approve consent?
So moved.
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Kemp, second, Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote on the consent agenda.
Motion carries 7-0.
Bonnie, will you introduce the first item?
The first item is item B1. This is to select and authorize negotiations with the highest ranked and best qualified firm for design build services for the One Water project. And we have George Cassidy is going to begin this presentation, speak a little bit about the project, and Scott Stromer is here as well from the procurement perspective, hopefully addressing some of the questions that came up in public comment.
Good morning, George.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and good morning, Commissioners. George Cassidy, Public Utilities, and I have the honor this morning of really kind of giving an overview of the One Water program and this particular project that will be before you today. So, growth has really dominated the conversation over the last so many years, and certainly South County, of all the county, has grown considerably. That growth has placed a considerable amount of stress on our utility system, both our drinking water supply and also the wastewater collection and treatment systems. And so a number of years ago, we began planning for expansions to these systems. And in particular, about 2018, we envisioned the One Water program. And the One Water program, simply put, is an acknowledgement that all of our water resources are important. Why? Rainwater becomes stormwater, stormwater becomes river water goes into the bay, and somewhere along the line, we pick it up and we drink it. So we need to protect it. We need to acknowledge that it is a part of our environmental cycle in our system. The relationship between drinking water and wastewater is simple. We deliver drinking water to our customers, and they send it back to us dirty for treatment. We treat that to very, very high levels. In fact, many of you have been to our treatment systems, and you see what an amazing job we do at creating a high-quality reclaimed water. That reclaimed water is practically drinking water, and what do we do with it? We return it to the environment, and so goes the cycle over and over again. Our One Water program is split into two sections. It's really a drinking water component and a wastewater component. The drinking water is already in play right now. We have several projects that are currently underway. We've got a recently constructed booster pump station that helps deliver additional water at additional pressure down south. Right now we're constructing a 42-inch transmission main that is delivering greater volumes of water to the South County area. Those things combined with projects that we're partnering with Tampa Bay Water. We're going to be receiving a new point of supply. So all those combined will make us a very resilient drinking water supply for years to come. On the wastewater side, that is very critical right now. You've heard us in previous presentations. If we were to characterize our treatment capacity as a bucket, the bucket is practically full, and we're doing everything that we can to make sure that we don't overflow the bucket. And in doing that, we have to build a new wastewater treatment plant, and that is what is before you today. The One Water wastewater component is a brand new wastewater plant located at the South County Southeast landfill. The project itself has a 20 million gallon per day treatment capacity plant. Also, all of the infrastructure, all the pipeline that's necessary to get water there and get the reclaimed water back to where we have folks that use it for irrigation purposes and others. It's a very important project. We have been envisioning this for 6 years. We are really behind in our schedule. I will tell you that there have been a number of things that have gotten in the way. Certainly the pandemic was one of them. Cost inflation. We came to you about 6-7 months ago to ask for additional rates. You blessed us with that. We have the funding now to be able to go forward with this project. We're grateful for that. And today is the beginning of the wastewater side of the One Water program. And essentially it is authorization to begin negotiations with the number one firm. And with that, I will turn it over to Scott for his presentation, his introduction of the item, and we are available for any questions later.
Thanks, George. Good morning, Scott.
Good morning. Scott Stromer, Procurement Services. Let's go over item B1. Item B1 is asking the board to select and authorize negotiations with the top-ranked firm, Garney Companies, for design build services for the One Water project, which is the South Wastewater Conveyance and Treatment project, at a total estimated cost of $671 million. Once an agreement's reached with the firm, Water Resource Department will bring that agreement back to the board for consideration, approval, and execution. Also, in the unlikely event an agreement cannot be reached with Garney, authorization is also requested to terminate discussions with Garney and begin negotiations with the next highest ranked firm, which is Sun Construction. The opportunity for proposers to receive 5 bonus points by subcontracting a minimum of 10% of the ultimate design fees in phase 1, which is the design phase. It was available, and all the firms requested those points and were awarded those points. An overall total disadvantaged business enterprise program participation goal of 14%, or approximately just about $94 million, was established for the project, and all of the firms agreed to meet that goal. Procurement Services does recommend approval. I think it's important just at the outset, there was no protests filed on this procurement. We recently had a change on the cone of silence. When that ends, we did not have a protest. The cone of silence closed, and then we've moved forward. On the protest, the key hallmarks on the protest process is that there's due process and there's finality. The comments this morning, there's a lot to unpack there. It's likely not the forum to do that. But Garney has no idea of any of these issues. We had questions raised by a subcontractor, starting with Sunt. During the protest notice period, Sunt did ask a couple questions and ask us to clarify and confirm before going to the board, which we did. We took the time working with the MBE division, the county attorney's office. We gave them a very thoughtful, very measured, very collaborative answer. It was very comprehensive. They responded, they accepted that answer, and then we've heard from one of the subcontractors for Sunt, which we received an email, and repeating the same things. We've already answered those questions. So the only thing I would caution is that Garney has not had any idea. They've not had a chance to intervene. They've not had a chance to say their side. I'll hit on just a couple of the points. The cost savings, what has to be understood here, this is not a bid. This is a progressive design build. This is a qualifications-based process that will be negotiated. The $671 million is an estimate of this project. So there's a lot of innovation that goes in. There are different approaches. But ultimately, this project will be negotiated, and it'll come back to the board for your consideration. It's not a bid. The references, Garney was the contractor for the Northwest project. We are our own reference. We're very comfortable. That was wildly successful, that project. So we're very comfortable with it. Garney is well qualified, and they've proven that. As for the goals, I'll just mention on that. In the package itself, one interpretation, Sunt's interpretation that I think he would interpret as well, that when you have to get the bonus points, the 5 bonus points, you have to subcontract a minimum of 10%. What Garney has done is they provided their list of vendors and said, yes, we commit to the 10%, minimum 10% or more. The other vendors took it a step further and actually gave the percentages that they're going to allocate to every single vendor on their list. So Garney's met the requirement on the 10%. They just didn't give the percentages because that's kind of our standard practice. Remember, this is not a fixed price bid. So we didn't look at that. There's no advantage, no disadvantage imparted because of that. There's no, if you want to give us some more information, that's fine. We're not going to hold you accountable to those numbers. Because understand, they've not had one meeting with the county about this project and it hasn't been scoped. So to say that someone's going to get, 5.9% of the ultimate fees when we've not even scoped the project, they don't even know what the project is yet. So we're not going to hold them accountable for those numbers because we're hoping certainly that it'll be more. On the engineering piece and on the licensure, our package at the outset said we want to make sure that everybody's complying with the statutes on design build and make sure they're properly licensed. The interpretation by a couple of firms, Sun included, they gave us every single certification and registration and license for every engineer involved in the project, every contractor, every subcontractor. That's not what's necessary. The intent is we just need to know who the prime is and who's going to sign and seal the drawings, engineer a record. The vendor, in one case, cites a particular statute, 489, which the intent of that really is to protect the county, because the county's the consumer here, that engineers can't practice unlicensed activity. in that same statute, the definition of contractor is who's responsible for the project, who are we going to pay, and who submitted the bid. So that's why what we're concerned with is who the prime was, who the lead design was, and they actually took it a step further, and we have the 3 sub-designers who are probably going to sign and seal the drawings. So we're very comfortable with the licensure. Again, it's not the county's burden to make sure they're doing licensed activity. They have to come, that statute is to protect us. As a matter of due diligence, we wanted to see that project team, which is the lead team. We're not really interested in seeing a junior engineer on one of the staffs that's just going to run numbers. We don't need to see that license. So having said all that, Procurement Services recommends approval of this item. The process was transparent, it's fair, it's equitable. If these were concerns that it should have been brought up in a protest, we have no concerns whatsoever. And I don't, if I'm just being honest, it's difficult to have some decision like this, as big of a project, as important as a project, to have something like this clouded by stuff showing up just here today to talk about this stuff. This is not the right forum for this. We have a full administrative process built for this. And so with that, Procurement Services does recommend approval.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And that was something I got hung up on very early when I was looking at this item was procedure. And maybe that's the lawyer in me, Ms. Beck. But let's talk about that for a second. What the process is, when I was calling an appeal, but it's a protest, right? Correct? So let's reiterate on that. There has been no protest made by any entity, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. And yeah, and I guess, I understand some of the concerns, but I looked at the backups and I looked at the due diligence that was done on this. Mr. Cassidy, are you still here? I look at, particularly on the MBE divisions successfully conducted outreach events, June 15th, June 21st. I mean, can you talk about the due diligence as to that aspect, just because of the speakers here today?
We made considerable attempts to have outreach programs for the MB community, for the small business community. And that Ken Jones with Economic Development is here, and Ken kind of led that effort, helped organize that. But we held a number of very large forum, hundreds of people attended, to get the word out, to let everybody know that the project was coming.
Yeah, I mean, this is my district. I need this project like yesterday. I mean, this is stuff that has to get moving, that is understandably delays because of funding and COVID. I understand it, but this is something that for my district, we really needed yesterday. And by looking at the backups, I think there's recorded interviews of somewhere around 6-7 hours. That sound right? I just can't think of anything as a staff that we can do that would require any more due diligence than what you have done. Is there anything that you could think of that could possibly have been missed?
I listened in to all of those hours of deliberation and conversation, and I thought it was as open and deliberate and really honest of a selection process that I've ever been associated with.
Yeah. And I sometimes get criticized for not really, trusting staff. I do trust staff. I just always like to question things and do my due diligence myself on it as a county commissioner. But this is one of those scenarios where, I see our staff has crossed every T, dotted every I, and this is a project, commissioners, that we need to move on as soon as possible. So I am going to move for approval.
Okay,
Second.
We got a motion to approve by Commissioner Owen, second Commissioner Cohen and Kemp. Commissioner Myers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to ask George and Scott to come back, and I'm going to thank Scott for sending me all of the information that I requested on this project and having a conversation with you. But in my review, I noticed that the contractor plans to start July of 2025. Now, I just heard both of you all say that this project is urgent to the county and we are behind. Will it take a full year to negotiate? And why is the contractor started? We aligned the contractor to start in 2025 versus the second proposal wants to start in 2024. So can you explain that to the board?
That's a really good question. And so that is a very conservative estimate over the time frame that would be required to kind of get this thing started. But we are already getting ready to do everything we can to accelerate all the elements of the design process and all the support departments within the county to help us get to a place where we can launch it a lot sooner.
Okay, but the proposer has said I cannot start to 2025.
Well, he may have said that, and if they can't start until 2025, then we'll go to the next one.
Okay, because it's in the document, okay?
I understand.
And this is the reason why I'm asking this question, because I can't see this board approving a project that is going to start a year later.
So we laid out a schedule, Commissioner, that for us, when we initially advertised this, we laid out a schedule of the expectations. And it was a conservative schedule, and I think the plant needs to be completed by 2027, 2028, that time frame. So I'm sure what the proposers did in all cases took our schedule and said, we can do this.
Okay, so what is our schedule? Can you tell this board what is the schedule that Water wants to start this project?
So what our plan is to go ahead and initiate design as soon as we can. We are anticipating about a 2-month from now, 2-month negotiation for design services. That will come back to the board probably in April for your approval, because every stage of this comes back to you for budget approval. So we'll be back for the design element in April. And then at the conclusion of that, they'll start designing, and we're already working with development services right now to see if we can find shortcuts in the permitting process. Traditionally, it has to be all designed before we can apply for a permit, before we can start building. The whole nature of design build is you do your initial grading plan, you rip that page off, you give it to the contractor, they start grading while you're working on the foundations. You get the foundations done, you rip that page off, and then you go on to the next element. That is that's the true benefit of design build. We haven't been able to do that because our processes aren't set up to support it. We're going to try and change that on this one.
Okay, so in other words, you're saying you're coming back to us, this board, in April?
Yes, ma'am.
With either or, the first proposal or the second?
One of them.
Okay, with an agreement for this board to approve?
For a design element, yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wellstrom.
I just wanted to clear up something since the firefighters in the audience, something was referenced to $80 million of these funds, and we have needs, but to be clear to all of you, these are a restricted revenue source and they cannot be used for anything but the improvement of the water utilities because of the way it's captured. So I didn't want you, okay, guys, thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you. You know, when you're dealing with projects that are this large, all of us want to take the time to make sure that we're getting it right. At the same time, judging from the construction schedules that we've seen at Tampa Bay Water, I want to concur with Commissioner Owen. This has to start immediately, and Commissioner Myers as well. We need to get this going as quickly as possible. This project, like the water delivery projects that are being done concurrently, these really fall into the 5-minute rule of, you know, if this doesn't work for 5 minutes, we have a major catastrophe on our hands. And the sooner we get started, the better. And at some point, we have to dip our toe in the water and then jump in. And, you know, in that spirit, I'm going to be supporting this and also hope that you'll be able to move on these different elements as quickly and as expeditiously as possible. Thank you.
Commissioner Kemp.
And I just want to say, and I appreciate Commissioner Myers' concerns. We all know that the critical nature of what is going on with these issues, both water and wastewater, although it sounds like water will be, it's probably likely to be done sooner. It's already in process, and so we can count on that. But I just want to say to staff, to both George and Scott, you've done an excellent job, I think, of really explaining for everyone the nature of the project, describing the nature of the project, its critical importance, all the elements of it. And to Scott, I actually think you had a harder job here. It's not, in terms of the process and the elements of the process and satisfying that process, and the fact that you're bringing it back in a few months, that it keeps coming back to us to look at. I, have confidence in what was done, and also I appreciate the information that you brought to us today.
All right, just a couple quick comments, and then we'll vote. I believe that the RFP is legally sufficient. I understand that there's no protest filed. However, to me, I know there are some MBE concerns. As George stated, and a couple of commissioners, this project is behind schedule, and there are timing advantages and potential cost savings with the number 2 firm that is stated in our backup. But for me, the main issue is the number 2 firm was awarded the initial RFP. Now, I understand why the bids were thrown out and we rebid, but it still leaves a sour taste in my mouth. So that's why I'm not going to support the motion. Okay, so we have a motion on the floor and a second. Please record your vote.
Motion carried 5-2. Commissioners Hagan and Myers voted no.
All right, thank you. Bonnie, next item.
Thank you. The next item is yours, Mr. Chair. This is item F1 regarding the development services interviews and focus groups. And both Adam Gormley and Scott Stromer are here if you have any questions.
Okay. Thank you. Board member, this will be quick. I've heard for years complaints and concerns from the private sector on challenges they're facing interacting and doing business with Hillsborough County. As an example, just a minute ago, we just heard George say regarding a design bill, our processes do not support certain things. I don't know if you just heard that, literally just a couple of minutes ago. They primarily involve development services and procurement. Now, this is not meant in any way to bash staff. However, I've always felt that we should always look for ways to improve our processes and service quality. I can tell you so many times I've heard things from the private sector like, no one does things like Hillsborough County. It's very challenging to interact. Many large, high-quality firms refuse to bid on county projects because of the challenges. So to me, when you do not have the largest and best firms willing to work on our projects, competition is limited. And when you have limited competition, that's all too often going to lead to higher cost. So just last night, in fact, I was with someone from a major contractor, not having anything to do with this agenda item, and she just came out and said, she goes, well, we don't bid on county business. It's too burdensome. And it's candidly a pain in the you-know-what. So there's no reason for this to occur. I should have brought this probably years ago, should have brought it forward sooner. But what really drove me to get it going now was the fact that I know that we'll likely move forward this year with the African American History Museum that Commissioner Myers has championed. I support this project, but at the same time recognize it's not going to be cheap. So I want to ensure that we have the very best bidding on this work. I've worked with Greg Hordell on this issue. He helped, in fact, draft the motion. He's here if there are any questions on this. The motion is essentially just to have staff get with stakeholders and come back in 90 days with any recommendations for improvements. But I'll read the exact motion, and I'll pass the gavel to the Vice Chair. It's to direct county administration and development services to conduct interviews and hold focus groups with a broad representation of the development sector to determine what issues, if any, may hamper timely permitting, plan review, inspections, and issuance of COs, identify changes in policies or procedures to ensure efficient review of plans, issuance of permits, and responsive inspection timeframe in the county's development review and permitting process, review the RFP and RFQ practices for ways to simplify and streamline those processes, and recommend specific action steps and a plan to address these items and present to the board within 90 days. So I'll pass the gavel and make that motion.
Okay, got a motion by Commissioner Hagan. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Commissioner Wostel, I see you.
Mr. Gormley, you must have a sigh of relief since I've been beating this drum to you for my whole first year here. But I want to know if in this motion, it can capture the timing issues that I've complained about in terms of us always having a several-year seeming lag behind when the inventory of homes or construction is completed, but then we have a lag in developing the infrastructure. And I've always complained that we should champion promoting the developer themselves to build that infrastructure in line with their program. Is that something that can be improved and accomplished in this motion itself? I know I've been talking to you about Mufasa, and I think I have a briefing scheduled at some point on that, but.
So Commissioner Adam Gormley, Development Services Department, I think those are two related but distinct issues. Certainly with the Mufasa, we are aware of the lack of it not being used and are in discussions about ways that we can make that option more attractive for developers. In terms of the timing lags, certainly any timing issues, we would be looking at this as part of the development process, but we are also looking at ways that we can make the Mufasa process, and that is developers building infrastructure, using their mobility fees to build county-needed infrastructure. We are looking at ways to make that option more attractive for developers.
Wouldn't it make sense, though, if we're trying to improve the development sector, timing issues, permitting, plan review, inspections, that we're in some way intertwining those two opportunities to improve the whole process?
If it's the board's will, we could certainly bring that into this. I would just, it's not a, I'm agreeing.
So it's not covered in this scope?
I think that this, what I understand the scope to be is more the process of permitting rather than substantive requirements on projects or substantive opportunities. I mean, if it's the board's will, we could certainly wrap that into this project. As I said, we have had some initial conversations with some representatives in the developed industry about what can we do to change the Mufasa to make that a more usable tool. So we'll take the direction of the board of how that would like to be incorporated into this motion.
Okay.
Commissioner, sorry, you're done.
Yeah, I just, and the only other thing I would say, I don't know if any other commissioners received it. I've had several visits. I have a letter actually from a minority business owner who is damning the MBE program that we have, calling it rivaling the complexity of Broward County and preventing him from wanting to do business with us. So there must be some opportunity to improve the process to actually attract and promote them to want to apply and do business with us, I guess, combining off of what Commissioner Hagan said. And I would, only other thing is I would encourage if, maybe if we improve the Mufasa process, that maybe it not be someone that loves Lion King so much that names the new one. That's it. Thank you.
Commissioner Hagan.
Thank you. Yeah, I just want to say Commissioner Wolster brings up an excellent point. The motion was intentionally broad in nature. I'll defer to Greg. I'm happy to incorporate that if Greg and staff's comfortable with that. If not, we can go a different direction. But it's an excellent point. And one thing I will say that I go up to Pasco County a lot, and it just seems that somehow, some way, their roads get built in advance of the infrastructure. I will point that out. So, Greg, I'll defer to you, whatever you think's the best.
Yes, for the record, Greg Horwedel, Deputy County Administrator. Appreciate the questions and the conversation. While Adam is absolutely correct, they are distinctly different. However, one impinges upon the other. So I expect that we'll have an opportunity to review some of the items that would affect the Mufasa process and make that simpler and easier to effectuate as we go forward on the building program. I think it's enough hearing your comments, to be perfectly honest. If you want to include it in the motion, that's perfectly fine, but I'm pretty certain that Adam and I have got your direction, and understand that you want the flavor of that to also be brought back so we can recommend some potential improvements in that process. And as Adam mentioned, we have already met with Tampa Bay Builders Association, and we've gotten some preliminary comments from them. So we'll be working very closely with the industry, and I'm certain we'll be able to bring back items that we can recommend. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Commissioner Myers.
Thank you. I don't know where this fit in, but I'm going to ask my question regarding to MBEs. We look at that, we always have to have 3. Can we consider having 2? Because we always have 2 in most bids that we're trying to do, and they cannot participate because we don't have 3. So when we're looking at the policy, could this be considered where we can change the policy and go with 2 to allow them to have the opportunity to provide work for the county?
I'll have to defer to the MBE division, but I'll visit with Ken. And again, I take whatever the board's policies, all those things, and I put them in the procurement. The procurement carries those through, and then I just kind of police it. But I'll work with Ken, and I'll bring that up to him, Commissioner. Thank you.
Yeah, and I'll, anyone else? No. And I'll just be real fast. Commissioner Hagan, I'm not going to bite when you said our roads and infrastructure need to catch up. I think we'll be here all day. But I guess question, Adam, because Commissioner Whistle did bring up a good point. I guess when this comes back, how this will be brought back, from what I'm getting from you, you're saying it would kind of be, it's separate from the Mufasa. Would it be something maybe that we entertain a separate motion after that? Would it be you that's basically presenting on both of those, giving us information back on both of those, or how would that work?
Commissioner, again, Greg Horwoodell. We will have a staff presentation. Right now, I haven't decided it just depends on what the results are. It may have a couple of different components. We'll have to go over that with the county administrator, make sure that she's comfortable with what our recommendations are. But I fully expect, as I mentioned earlier, that we will have items that we can recommend to address the very broad aspects of development and how that's pursued in Hillsborough County. And I'm certain we'll come up with improvements to that process.
Okay, and then Commissioner Hager, are you okay then incorporating Commissioner Wilson's concern into the motion? Okay, great. So we have, anybody else? We have a motion by Commissioner Hagan, second by Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, board members. Bonnie?
Thank you. The next item is the first staff report, and the first one is item G1. This is to receive an update on the Morris Bridge Road short-term safety improvements, and Josh Bellotti with Engineering and Operations will present this item.
Good morning, Josh.
All right, thank you very much. Good morning, Commissioners. Josh Bellotti, Engineering and Operations Department. At the September 7th BOCC meeting, staff presented a report on potential short and long-term safety enhancements along the approximately 9.5-mile Morris Bridge corridor from I-75 to the Pasco County line. At that time, the board directed staff to come back with a recommendation for implementing the short-term improvements along with a potential timeline and funding source. So looking here at the overall corridor, the context classification for this road is a C1, C2 rural, which has a target speed of 25 to 35 miles an hour. It currently has a posted speed of 40 to 45 miles an hour with existing passing lanes. Based on the traffic engineering safety analysis, we found that speeding, passing, and lane departure running off the road were major contributing factors to crashes. In the last 5 years, there have been 250 crashes, 6 of which were fatal and 10 serious injury. This corridor is also ranks high for bicycle risk. While it provides vital bicycle route access to recreational parks, it currently has poorly marked bike facilities along the corridor, and the bike lane narrows at the bridge over the Hillsborough River. And so the identified improvements are designed to mitigate these issues and reduce crashes by helping to reduce speeding and lane departure. This summary outlines the types of improvements that will work together to accomplish that. The no passing zones with vertical delineators will help to reduce the passing crashes on this 2-lane road. The reflective and profiled lane markings and the curve warning signs will help to reduce lane departure crashes. And the speed feedback signs and bike lane markings and enhancements are intended to help reduce speeding as well as enhance bicycle safety. Since the conceptual report was presented in September, staff has been working with an engineering consultant to provide a detailed design for these improvements, along with an updated engineering cost estimate. You may recall from the September staff report that the conceptual estimate we provided was $825,000. And as you can see on this slide, the engineering estimate from our design consultant is now $2.1 million. So I did just want to take a brief moment to highlight the two main factors driving that roughly $1.2 million difference. The first is that during the course of the design, as the consultant was refining their scope, they incorporated additional feedback signs and curve warning signs. They also included new technology, a dynamic curve warning system that consists of driver-actuated flashing curve warning signs. While these items together added approximately $500,000 to the overall cost, staff agreed with the recommendation since lane departure has been a leading contributor to crashes on this corridor, and since these safety enhancements will help increase driver awareness, reduce speeds, and keep drivers on the road. The second factor in the cost difference is a $700,000 line item for mobilization, maintenance of traffic, and other contingencies associated with the construction contract. This item was not included in the September conceptual estimate because at that time, no funding had been identified. And so in an effort to keep costs minimal, staff made the assumption that the construction of these short-term improvements could be accomplished with a mix of in-house maintenance forces and existing maintenance contracts. However, during the design, as the scope was being refined, it was determined that this project would exceed both our in-house availability as well as our current maintenance contract capacities. And so this is an estimated additional cost associated with contracting out the construction of this project. So the good news is that staff has identified the funding required for these 9 miles of significant speed management, lane departure, intersection warning, and bike safety improvements. We are proposing to come back to the board with a budget amendment to realign the $2.1 million from the Mobility Fee Benefit Zone 3 fund for this project. Following the budget amendment, staff would then develop a construction contract and proceed with procurement. Regarding the timeline, the procurement process is estimated to take approximately 8 months, after which the construction duration is estimated at approximately 3 months. And so with that, I'll conclude my report and offer to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Josh. Commissioner Kemp?
First, I'll move approval. And second, thanks for bringing this, Commissioner Hagan. I think, and I want to thank you, Josh, again, for doing a really clear and good job of explaining all the elements of this. And I'll just say again, we are second in the entire nation. This isn't even in the state of Florida or the surrounding counties. Second in the entire nation, over and over and over again, for pedestrian and bicycle deaths. And that is, and we also have some of the highest crash numbers and fatalities in the entire nation. It's important to make this safe and look at it. And in terms of road projects, 2.1 million, did you say that's 9 miles? That's a bargain from anything I've seen before. I'm a little bit taken aback by how much you can do with that. So I think this is very important, very critical, and I'm totally in support of this project.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Kemp. We have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Wostel?
Thank you. I have several thoughts. So in 5 months, we more than doubled the anticipated costs, right? September to February. Just that seems extremely concerning to me. And I think also a highlighting of a point about why we would ever pretend to believe that we could manage and plan for 30 years, i.e. trying to extend a tax for 30 years, pretending like we're going to, in any reasonable way, project what the actual expenses are going to be. I'm concerned and confused about staff randomly finding $1.2 million, especially when we consistently over the past year have talked about desperate infrastructure needs to nauseam. And really what we were told over and over was, well, it's only because it was the past commission that approved the budget. If I counted how many times I was told that my first year here, I would be extremely rich. So I don't like the mobility fees maps for so many of these reasons. I've talked to you about this before, Mr. Bellotti, and I'm still waiting for probably over an 8-month-old request on a briefing to understand. These mobility fees seem like Pandora's box, and I didn't know that this was kind of found money. We seem to have a cycle now over the past meetings where we're just finding money, and I want to know, did we take money away from a different project? I just want to make sure that we're not making sure that we have all of the bells and whistles on certain projects, but we're sabotaging a different project.
Okay, so there are a number of different projects, obviously, in the transportation system. And so those are estimates for projects, and project costs are continually being adjusted. And so there's realignments that can occur during the course of the year. There's the overall CIP true-up and realignment that occurs annually. And then there is also a mobility fee reserve. And so at this time, not every dollar of the mobility fees collected has been programmed or allocated to a project. And so there are times like this where we can look to the mobility fee reserves for available funding. Since this was not a large, comparatively, amount compared to some other projects.
I don't want anyone to misunderstand. I want the bridge fixed and public safety improvements, but I also don't understand how we have mobility fee reserves when we talk about sidewalk backlogs back to 2010 and other public safety measures. I feel like there's a huge blind spot in this budget that I still don't fully comprehend. Much less I've been going through the CIP, and it seems like there's tons of ghost money and projects that are in there since 2010 from last tax attempts. I obviously support the motion, but I feel like there's a huge gaping hole in these reserves, mobility fees, CIP projects that are outstanding that maybe don't even exist or have any intentions of being funded. So, okay. I appreciate all of your work on this, and I'm happy that the bridge is getting fixed, though. Thank you.
Commissioner Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I'm going to support it too. But I guess kind of piggybacking off what Commissioner Wostel said, when you use the word found money, and I have kind of heard that terminology as well. But we prioritize our road projects, right? Just for the public's purposes. We have a priority list, and sometimes that priority list changes, right? Each year it can change, and we work in conjunction with the TPO as well. But I guess for the public purposes, because obviously me representing East and South County, where our roads are in the worst state in the county because of growth and development. That's what it is. And if I'm answering a question, well, why are you supporting a road project out there versus over on your side of town? These are coming from. Could you explain, these are coming from mobility fees from that particular region of the county?
Sure, yes, I can, and you're absolutely right. We prioritize projects based on a number of different factors, safety obviously being a primary one, and those can change based on reassessment and a reevaluation. Regarding these mobility fees, there are restrictions in the mobility fees, not just in the zones where they're collected, but also on the types of projects that they can be utilized for. So they are not able to be utilized for things like resurfacing and sidewalk repairs. So that's also part of the factor that we work with the budget office and we look for available funding sources. We have to always consider the restrictions on the funding sources as well.
Yeah, and I guess the challenge is, obviously using the impact fees on the communities that are really impacted the most and doing it timely. That's the thing I think that I get frustrated with, or that the public gets frustrated with, is that the projects just need to move quicker. We know that there's a lot of moving parts as the county. Been a commissioner a year and 3 months. I've learned a lot on how the system really works. But maybe also alluding to what Commissioner Hagan's motion was, the last one we went over, all of those factors that will, maybe we can help improve this system. But I'll be supporting the motion. Thank you.
I think, and I'll wrap things up here. I'm the one that brought this forward initially, and I appreciate all the board comments. Thank you, Josh, for the presentation. I thought there were excellent recommendations, particularly addressing the bicycle safety issues, and as well as the basis for the increase in cost. Commissioner Wilson made excellent points. I share his cost concerns. I had sticker shock on the original $800,000 cost. So when I saw the 2.1 million, I was blown away. But clearly the need is there. In 2023 alone, there were 33 total crashes and 3 fatalities. As a result, there's at least 6 service requests in with our staff. And discussing this with the administration back in August and September, I figured it was likely going to be the funding recommendation would be out of the CIT. And then when I heard of that this actually had a mobility fees, I liked it, because as Commissioner Owen pointed out, these monies cannot be used in Commissioner Myers' district or Owens or Cohen's, and so it is an appropriate source. So I'm thrilled with all the work. I appreciate the board support, and the motion, I guess, is just to approve utilizing the mobility fund, and then staff will come back with the appropriate budget amendment necessary. Is that good, Commissioner Kemp? Good with that? Okay. So we got a motion, Commissioner Kemp, second, Commissioner Myers. Please record your vote.
Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, board members. Bonnie, next item.
Thank you. The next item is item G2. This is also a staff report to report on strategies to improve response times for fire rescue. And Chief Doherty will present this item.
Good morning, Chief.
Good morning, Commissioners. Appreciate you for giving me some time today. I know your time is valuable, so I'm going to do this as quickly as I can. But I got to tell you, I have a lot of passion about this, and I got some folks in the back of the room that helped put hundreds of hours into this. So I want to give it its due diligence. So I want to start by a few comments. I want to first take a moment before I begin to say thank you to everybody that has reached out on behalf of 10-year-old Mason Fox, the son of Mike Fox, who is a driver engineer with Hillsborough County Fire Rescue. Mason tragically lost his battle with cancer this past Sunday. Mason, you inspired all of us. We pray for your eternal peace. We love you, buddy. God bless you. God bless your family. And God bless my Hillsborough County Fire Rescue family. And thank you for the prayer today. So as your recently appointed fire chief, I want to personally thank our county administration and each of you for the opportunity to serve under your guidance and leadership while serving our citizens and serving our fire department. Over the past 8 years, the county has approved 5 new stations, with 2 of those currently in the planning stages, North Sun City and Progress Village. During the same time, leadership has also provided 12 additional ambulances, along with the traffic preemption technology and station alerting. These additions do not go unnoticed, and as a fire chief, I cannot thank each of you enough. Unfortunately, as a department, these much-needed additional resources and stations were needed prior to the population growth and exploding call volume just to maintain. As elected leaders, I have the utmost respect and admiration for your dedication and hard work in making Hillsborough County the destination of choice for so many and the home for over 1.5 million people. We are at a pivotal moment where we need to add additional fire department resources and stations, coupled with the various response solutions. This is not merely a matter of convenience, but a vital necessity for the continued safety and well-being of our neighborhoods. Every day, our brave firefighters and paramedics put their lives on the line to protect our families, our properties, from the ravages of medical and fire emergencies. Yet as our population grows and our county expands, the demand on the fire department resources intensifies. As response times stretch, coverage areas widen, and the strain on our existing stations becomes more apparent with each passing day. Imagine for a moment the anguish of a family trapped in a burning home waiting precious minutes for us to arrive, or a family member in cardiac arrest and our units are too far away to intervene swiftly. This is not a scenario we can afford to accept. By investing in additional solutions, resources, and fire stations, we are not just erecting buildings and purchasing pieces of equipment. We are fortifying the pillars of our community. We are ensuring that even when disaster strikes, our firefighters and paramedics have the necessary tools and proximity to respond effectively. We are safeguarding the dreams and aspirations of our fellow citizens, providing them with the peace of mind that help is never too far away. The staff report I'm presenting today is not merely about budgets and logistics. It's about our collective commitment to the safety and resilience of our community. It's about standing together and saying unequivocally that the protection of our citizens is paramount. With your continued support, we will not wait for tragedy to compel our actions. Let us act now with foresight and determination to ensure a safer, stronger tomorrow for generations to come. This presentation will provide a clear overview of alternative solutions to augment and assist our fire rescue master plan, utilizing innovation and technology and driving down response times and creating a more unit availability to respond to emergencies. So with that, we'll go ahead and get this presentation started. Fire rescue is not moving away from our master plan. I want to make sure that's clear. We are in need of additional stations and rebuilds, but looking to create a bridge until we can realistically build the 28 stations on the master plan. Rapid growth and historic call volumes in unincorporated Hillsborough County has created a need to address our response time challenges. Reducing response times for our citizens is critical and paramount in saving lives and property. Seconds and matter when lives are at risk. High unit utilization is essentially the time our units are not available and are on emergency calls. In essence, our units are critically busier than the industry standard, which is creating significant challenges. Ultimately, the high unit utilization stresses the entire 911 system. It has a tremendous impact on our response times to our citizens. It has an enormous impact on the mental and physical health well-being of our firefighters and paramedics. Calls for fire rescue has doubled from 70,000 to 140,000 in the last 20 years, while millage rates remain relatively the same. That's our primarily how we're funded. Capital cost is less of a challenge currently, but this change could significantly change depending on the CIT being renewed or not. Ultimately, call volume and population is exceeding our growth at fire rescue. So I'm going to go through 4 proposed solutions, alternative solutions. The first being 3-person ambulances, the second being roving peak time ambulances, the third being additional ambulances, and the fourth, a system of transport policy change. So when we talk about 3-person ambulances, increasing staffing on our ambulances from 2 to 3 personnel in high call volume areas, this will initially begin with 12 ambulances across the county. This will reduce required response units to medical calls from 2 vehicles to 1. As you may already know, we oftentimes send multiple units to a medical call. We do this because we need additional personnel to assist in treating the patient. Adding the 3rd person on the ambulance allows us to send 1 unit to the medical call, thus freeing up more units to be available for emergency calls. In turn, this will decrease our initial response times. This initiative will positively impact the well-being of my firefighters by lessening the workload for the ambulance crew while allowing for up to 60% more availability of our suppression units. An added benefit is reducing the wear and tear on these really expensive apparatuses. As you know, our engines cost over $1 million now and our trucks cost over $2 million. How are we going to pay for this? Currently, these positions would be temporarily staffed through redeployment of our operational funds. We have Station 48 approved. We're going to use the funding for the personnel 48 until the station's built to utilize the funds for that to add the additional folks on the rescue units. Almost like a trial to see how well this is going to work. We believe it's going to bring us back really positive news and look forward to bringing more on that. Let's move to the next slide. Our roving peak time ambulance units. Our peak times are based on collecting and analyzing data continually. The data tells us our peak times are from 7 a.m. to 11 p.m. at night, Monday through Saturday. Sunday, our call volume dips down just a little bit, but the traffic on the roadways is less, allowing for faster response times. Peak units would be deployed during these high demand periods. These units would be staffed by our existing employees who volunteer to work overtime on their off-duty days. We are confident peak time roving units would reduce our initial response times by 2 minutes for each specific response. Peak units allow for flexible staffing. We're able to turn them off or turn them on by keeping a close look at our budget. We can also relocate based on call volumes throughout the county. The cost for this would be $4.2 million annually to operate, and we believe we can absorb this in our current overtime budget. I am suggesting to use $2.4 million in capital funds to purchase new units, as initially we would use our current stock of reserve ambulances. Make sure we go. Okay. Additional ambulance rescue units. As all of you are aware, 85% of our 140,000 calls we respond to yearly are medical in nature. Currently, we only have 40 ambulances that are able to transport patients to a hospital. We have the capacity at more than 20 stations to house additional ambulances, ultimately allowing us to operationally add additional capabilities while we work to our ultimate goal of building more stations. We would immediately improve response times and unit availability. More than 20% of our calls require us to respond outside our first alarm areas, which drastically impacts our response times. In the future, we would request for future allocations to the operating budget to staff these units. Currently, we can utilize capital for purchasing the units, and as President Tim Pearson said earlier, we have about a 20-month build time on our apparatuses, which would allow us time to figure out how we can fund the operational costs. Our 40 ambulances require approximately $40 million in operating funds each year, while at the same time, they do collect about $30 million in revenue. While we are not profiting from our transports, I do believe it's critical we capture the increased revenue we will provide by adding additional ambulances to our operation. Our last solution, system of care transport policy. Today, we take patients to the hospital of their choice. This oftentimes leads to our units traversing the entire county and leaving their respective zones with delayed coverage. Ultimately, our ambulances are crisscrossing each other throughout the county. Our proposed change would transport patients to the closest facility within their system of care. We do have support from the CEOs and CEOs of local hospitals. This would reduce transport distances, out-of-service times, and essentially allowing our units to remain in their dedicated response areas. We would have some exceptions to the policy, such as burn patients, trauma alert patients, and folks that have had surgery in the last 30 days. They would go to the specific hospitals. We don't believe there will be any expected cost to this policy change. So let me conclude by this, Commissioners. We believe that we have proposed solutions that will enhance fire rescue's ability to effectively save lives and property by reducing response times to our citizens and creating a more self-sustaining workforce of amazing firefighter and paramedics. Your consideration and support are as vital as ever. As a fire chief representing nearly 1,200 sworn firefighters and paramedics and more than 100 dedicated civilian employees, your Hillsborough County Fire Rescue Team cannot thank each of you enough for all your support and future support. That concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Chief, for that thorough and detailed presentation. Commissioner Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here, Chief. Your time's more valuable than ours sitting up here. You're saving lives. And also, I can speak on behalf of every commissioner up here and every employee of Hillsborough County where we're praying for Mason's family, and anything we can do as a county, obviously we're here for you too. On the additional person per ambulance, I thought that was a really interesting solution. And one, I appreciate you all working so well with our staff on this, because we wish we could do 23 fire stations overnight. The reality is we just can't, right? But we can be committed to more. We can do better. And I wanted to get your thoughts on, or a good explanation, because you gave me a really good one on, I thought, 3 people per ambulance, you know, one, our ambulance is set up for that, and would we have to acquire more equipment? And 2, do we have to hire more people? So could you kind of touch on why you think the 3-person will save time, I guess is what I'm saying, and the benefits to that?
Yes, sir. So what we're proposing now is it'd be a total of 33 positions, but we already have that within our budget, so we would not have to. We kind of look at this on a trial basis to see if the impacts, what we expect to see, are certainly happening by capturing the analytics and data with that. But ultimately, our thought is currently we send 2 units almost every medical call. This would allow us to send 1 unit to the medical call, but have enough hands on deck to treat the patient, therefore not taking another unit out of service that essentially will be available for the next call in that area. Because that's where Hillsborough County has our biggest challenge is when we respond to a call from a fire station now, our response times they're good. But what happens is when we're responding from other stations into other areas, it becomes very challenging. This would free up more units for availability to respond for the initial call.
Yeah, good. And the roving I find interesting. So, you know, I represent Sun City Center, and I know there's lots of calls out there, as well as we have a volunteer squad out there that's very, very busy as well. So what we're saying when we say roving, I think of a linebacker in football because we had a rover. And so you're just kind of out there in those critical areas, kind of anticipating the high call volume in a particular area, like probably Sun City Center. Is that safe to say?
Yes, sir. So these would be 12-hour staffed units, and essentially they'd be on the road, you know, responding from the road versus a fire station, essentially trying to pick up as many calls as they can to relieve the other crews that are the other 40 rescue cars.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I know you've been discussing with our county administrator and staff, you know, these solutions, you know, and you know, I know it's a challenge. I know that you know, certain counties have some type of dedicated funding sources, things that I know that our staff is going to get back to us on before the budget. I think that the CIT. Giving you guys more of a share. We've been, the school boards have really benefited from that. You know, public safety, I mean, I've been saying it since we've gotten here. It's really the most important thing a public official does. I mean, keep people safe. And so I can tell you that I'm going to remain committed to that. The big issue is obviously the old age issue, right? It's funding. It's finding ways to get money. You know, obviously I didn't support a millage rate increase that would just maybe 1 year be support fire safety. I would want a dedicated source because I haven't seen any of that in the past. So one board may find public safety more important. One board may say affordable housing, for example, is the biggest crisis. So the only thing that I would support, just so this board and to let you know how I support fire safety, is that some type of dedicated funding source does need to be looked at for fire safety because we are in a crisis. And as Chief Jones said when he delivered that master plan, it's scientifically proven that if you don't get to a fire within 6 minutes, it leaves the room of origin. And that's more loss of life and more loss of property. So appreciate you being here today, and I'll obviously move to receive the report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, got a motion to receive the report, Commissioner
Second.
Owen, second Commissioner Kemp. Commissioner Kemp, you're recognized.
Thank you. I think our staff today has done, I don't know whether to call it a hat trick or a trifecta. But we had, you know, our first presentation with the One Water, then the bridge, and now the fire. And I know we received more detail before in the briefings, but I think it's just been very good to understand and get the overall picture. And I'm just very impressed by the moves and what was looked at for efficiencies and safety and saving lives. I always want to know these things, such as how much it costs to build a fire station, $6 million. I guess the more sophisticated, what you call trucks with the ladders are $2 million a truck, $1 million for the what is called the engines, which I guess are what we recognize as trucks without the ladders, and maybe some others. And then, you know, I'd heard that the ambulances were more on the $600,000. So those are looking at our capital costs. those are the things that the CIT could pay for, or that we pay for out of our funds. I'd wanted to do a dedicated millage, and as long as commissioners supported that, we could have done that. We don't have that yet, but the capital is not our biggest issue, as we know, because you can build a fire station, you can buy a truck, you can do an ambulance, but right now we're talking about $3.5 million to operate. That's always the biggest issue, is paying with our unincorporated county funds, which are really very short, to pay for those operational costs. And so I think as we go forward, the CIT won't be able to provide that. So we really do have to look to our unincorporated county budget for our main costs, which are those operational costs. But I would also, I think probably the public, I know I've always wondered about bringing both a truck, an expensive truck that I learned, and the staffing on that truck, as well as an ambulance maybe later, to a place. And it sounds like some of that efficiencies are built in when you have 3 people personing an ambulance rather than 2, that really helps. And so I would just, I'm really impressed by this kind of looking at a somewhat new model that has greater efficiencies, that will both save resources, but as well save lives, I'm certain, and have for better outcomes. So thank you for the proposal. I want to, I know that there were probably lots of people that have contributed and looked at this. And so I think going forward, this is just I'm looking forward to seeing this implemented, because I think it will do well by all of our residents, as well as our fire rescue department.
Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioner Cohen.
Thank you very much. And those were excellent points, and I don't want to reiterate them all, but I do think you guys have done an outstanding job with this project. And it reminds me a little bit, it's analogous a little bit to what's happened to Tampa Bay Water over the past couple of years, where there's clearly been a shortage of the capacity to bring water to South and East County. And I feel like our water department and Tampa Bay Water really swarmed over the issue and looked for every possible way to get some additional supply. And I feel like that's what you've done here in terms of looking for additional efficiencies. And the issue of the 2 vehicles, a fire truck and an ambulance going to every call, as opposed to now an ambulance with additional personnel, it's very, I think, understandable. People can understand how that necessitates a savings. I wanted to ask you, though, about the issue of number 4 on your list, which had to do with where ambulances take people once the actual call is in process. Because right now, correct me if I'm wrong, a person can choose to essentially be taken anywhere they want to go when the emergency vehicle arrives, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So aside from very serious cases and burns and traumas that will immediately go to a level 1 trauma center, how's it going to work now? What's the difference going to be in terms of what a person's choices are going to be when they're on the receiving end of service?
So in essence, our folks on the ambulances would ask the patient, what system of care do they normally go to? Where's their doctor perform services? Whether it's, there's St. Joe's, there's Tampa General, there's all different hospitals out there. Depending on their response, if let's say they were in South County and they wanted to go to St. Joe's, they'd go to St. Joe's South, the most geographically closest location in their system of care.
So what you're essentially doing is leveraging if they have insurance within a network, you're now going to leverage that and take them to the closest in-network hospital.
Yes, sir, exactly.
So you can see where the savings can add up not just from the system, but also from the distances traveled, because people can essentially be taken for care much closer to where they are, staying within their own network.
Yes, sir, and a lot of that's educating the public.
Yeah. So that's, I think, a really important part of this, that, you know, we're looking for ways for the public to have what it needs, but us to be able to squeeze additional dollars that hopefully we can use to make additional investments in fire safety. And I just want to close by saying that, Commissioner Kemp, I did support that millage increase proposal. I'm very supportive of using CIT dollars, as I know the rest of you are as well, to varying different degrees, using CIT dollars to fund some of these needs in future years. And I think it's very important to just reiterate that this is a bridge. This is a bridge to where we need to go. We still need to build fire stations. We still need to make other critical investments down the road, but this will help us get from A to B before we can do all that.
Absolutely, yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
Commissioner Cameron Cepeda.
Yes, and I know you said the study that you've done about the outsourcing would have resulted in about a $12 million negative impact to Hillsborough County, but I agree with everything. It's an awesome presentation, and you showed that the strategies to improve the response times was very important, and the rapid growth and historic calls, and the call growth has exceeded the department growth, and 85% of those calls are medical, and there's just an awesome presentation, excellent. And I support this, and I thank you for all that you do, and the entire Hillsborough County Fire Rescue is just awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Commissioner Wolstall.
Thanks, Chief. I mentioned a similar option in the past, and I'm happy to see you guys were probably already working on it when I made the suggestion. As far as funding, Commissioner Hagan, Chair, and Commissioner Owen, I've already renewed my my goal to do a really aggressive property tax swap, if possible, as we set this year's trim rate. It'll be a tough decision, but ultimately, if you two join me, we would be reducing the property taxes for about 30% of the population of Hillsborough County and keeping the property taxes the same for the other 70%, but introducing tons of new funds for you to employ municipal services that your area's majority both desperately needs. So hopefully we can get there during the trim meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Owen.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll be real fast too. And I, piggybacking off what Commissioner Cohen said about taking them to the nearest facility that's in their network. You know, you probably have it a lot where someone in Brandon says, "Take me to Tampa General," right? When they can take you to Brandon. Now, if they have a particular doctor, or is there something in place where if their particular doctor that is at a certain location where you would take them, go ahead and take them out of network?
So they've had a recent surgery in the last 30 days. We take them to where they had the surgery. A lot of times the patient never sees their doctor at the hospital most of the time.
Right.
They have the ER staff and the hospitalists at the hospital that take care of that. But the hospitals do have, they've worked through the NPC and have their own COPCNs to do interfacilities if they decide they want to move a patient within their network.
I mean, you probably have had situations where people actually even almost want to go out of county, right? In some cases.
We have, and we there is a few times we make exceptions to that with Polk County having being close by and Pinellas, but normally we try to stay within Hillsborough County.
Yeah, great. Yeah, and I'll just comment because the millage rate gets brought up every time, and you know, again, you know, I'm open to a dedicated funding source, but you know, I've watched the meetings and the budget meetings the last 4 years. Millage rate was not brought up till this year, not once. And so I just wanted to make those comments. And Commissioner Wolstall, I'm definitely open to you know, anything that we can do to dedicate a funding source to fire safety. Thank you.
Okay, excellent comment from all board members. Thank you, Chief, again for the presentation. We got a motion and a second to receive the report. Please record your vote.
Thank you, guys.
Motion carries 7-0.
All right, Bonnie.
Thank you. And the final staff report is item G3. This is to receive a report to the Board of County Commissioners regarding the review of the county's investment policy ordinance. And Kevin Brickey will present this item.
Good morning, Kevin.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. Kevin Brickey, Management and Budget.
On December 6th, the board directed county attorney, and clerk staff to review the county's investment policy ordinance with two things in mind. One, does the current ordinance as written permit Israel bonds as part of the county's portfolio? And two, are there other desired or advantageous changes that might be needed in the ordinance? So staff, the three staffs did review that. It was noted that Florida statutes does permit local government to invest in Israel bonds, specifically does permit that, but that the current ordinance that the county has does not include that as a permissible part of the portfolio. So that in order to do that, the ordinance would need to be amended to add that as a permissible part of the portfolio. And then there were three other relatively small changes that were noted that could be made. Two were name changes. There is a certain index, financial index that's referenced in the ordinance that its name has changed. And then there's a reference to a financial regulatory agency, and that has changed due to the adoption of the FINRA, financial. Right now, I can't remember what that. The new Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. So that change could be made as well. And third, there is a mention of a limited public records exemption in the ordinance that refers to a specific Florida statute. That citation has changed, and so that the third or the fourth change could make that more broad and just say that we would be complying with Florida statutes that are relevant. And then finally, on February 1st, the county's Investment Advisory Committee looked at these possible changes and concurred that they would be appropriate to make. And this is a staff report, and so any further action the board would need to direct the county attorney to draft an ordinance to amend.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Commissioner Owen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for your report and your hard work on this. And I guess one thing too, just to clarify to the public, what this is just providing more opportunity, correct? This is not necessarily saying that we're going to do X, Y, or Z. We are going to be smart, we're going to invest, and we're going to make decisions. This is just opening up the opportunity for us to invest in Israeli bonds, correct?
If the board were to move forward, it would include that as a possibility.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, I'm going to move to amend the ordinance consistent with the, I think it was 5 recommendations that you stated.
There was the Israel bond and 3 other small changes.
Okay, yeah, so I'm going to move, move to receive, I guess we have to move to receive the report first, correct, Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
Second.
And then I'll make a separate motion to amend the ordinance consistent with those recommendations.
All right, so motion here to receive the report. Please, motion by Commissioner Owen, second Commissioner Wostel. Please record your vote on receiving the report.
Motion carries 7-0.
And the second motion is to amend our ordinance with the recommended changes provided by Mr. Brickey. Is that accurate?
Would that be directing the county attorney's office? Yes.
Directing the, yeah, correct.
Okay, motion Commissioner Owen, second Commissioner Wostel. Please record your vote. Oh, Commissioner Kemp, you in the queue?
Right, I just wasn't given an opportunity to hit the button. We just went straight to another vote. I just wanted to say that I voted no on this before, and I'll continue to vote no.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please record your vote.
Motion carried 6-1. Commissioner Kemp voted no.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Bonnie?
The final item are future discussion items.
Are there any future issues? Commissioner Myers?
Thank you. I just have one. request that the Veteran Advisory Board re-advertise for the veterans position. I know in my district, I have not appointed someone, and that the criteria be changed to honorably discharged from the military, so that we can re-advertise that position.
Any other items? If not, we're adjourned. Thank you.